I mean, I think many analysts would struggle to see some of the positives on the surface from the numbers you've just released. Obviously, the big things that stand out are drop in your revenues in the second half of the year, obviously reflecting downward pressure on tariffs, and then, of course, the loss figure. It seems we continue to struggle to get into the positive there. But point out for us, what are the positives that investors can take from these numbers that you just released?
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you. And I've always stressed that opportunities in Nigeria continue to be positive. And some of the things that are quite important to understand is the operational performance of the business, aside from the outward pressure by the competitor actions, which is not sustainable. I've mentioned last year the subsidy on the handsets. Now they're beginning to subsidize minutes, which is also unsustainable. Notwithstanding, we did see substantial growth in our data broadband business. We've also seen substantial growth in the revenue contribution from the data business by about 8%. It was 19% last year, in 2009. In 2010, it was 27% came from the data revenues. Direct cost reduced by 30%, which is a direct result of our operational efficiency program we put in place. The usage on the network also increased by 12% in terms of usage. But as you mentioned, in the second half of last year, the competitors began to unnecessarily subsidize and decrease prices on the retail voice business, which then put pressure on the revenues, and that's why you saw an overall decline of 15%, whilst we still saw a 12% growth in the minute usage. So we've seen the cost is well controlled. The data business is growing quite well. The profitable voice business is doing okay, but traditionally we've come from the retail voice business, which has seen downward pressure on ARPU, which then caused the decline in overall revenues.
Right. Obviously, you've mentioned the fact that your data business seems to be doing pretty well, 27% of revenues for last year, and that's what many analysts are pointing to in terms of what they consider is the future for Starcomms, given the dynamics of the sector, obviously with the money bags in the GSM space. How is Starcomms looking to move forward, given the realities of the Nigerian market?
Well, our strategy has always been profitability and operational efficiencies. And the data business, we have taken that leadership role 3 years ago in launching the very first data business in terms of the retail data model. We've then followed it up with the IZAP product, and in the last quarter of 2010, we launched a very innovative tablet Wi-Fi bundle product called MyPad, which won an award. So basically our strategy is to continue to innovate and leverage our leadership in data. But more interestingly, is Nigeria still to date, even the year 2011, the penetration of broadband and ICT services is still below 4%, which means there is tremendous opportunity in that sector, but not just only on the retail data business, on the enterprise and corporate data business. So that's one. The second piece that's important is consolidation we spoke about 2 years ago has begun in 2010 and will continue well into 2011. So that is good for the country, where you have a less number of competitors that are much more focused on telecom business and actually growing the business profitably than just discounting prices for the sake of numbers and acquisition.
Now, obviously, the big news recently is Visafone's acquisition of Starcomms, Multilink Telecoms in Nigeria for $52 million. Now, we know that Starcomms was interested in that deal. Obviously, you were unable to finalize on that. How does that impact your projections and plans going forward?
Well, again, this is a good welcome step in the consolidation. As an industry leader, we look at this consolidation as a very good sign from an industry point of view. The challenge for the new entrants, or what's called the CDMA operators, as well as the new GSM entrants, is the scale. Economies of scale is the key issue. So the acquisition of Multilinks, when we looked at it as an avenue of growing our business, was purely from a spectrum point of view, not from a subscriber point of view. So it wasn't an acquisition from a subscriber perspective, it was an acquisition from a spectrum point of view, which was complementary to our existing spectrum. What it means for Visaphone, best you ask Visaphone, because they're in the 800 spectrum, Multilinks is the 1900 spectrum. They only have 800 in Lagos, so I'm not sure how accretive that acquisition will be for them from a business point of view, but I'm not Visaphone, but I'll speak to the Starcomms positioning is we still have sufficient spectrum to continue to grow our business, but from an acquisition point of view, we wanted to create additional spectrum to drive our business faster, and all we need to do now is focus that capital we would have spent on that acquisition to grow this business. We also believe that there was fair market value valuation based on the numbers of that company, which we felt we are not going to get into a bidding war, and that acquisition, if accretive to Visaphone, more power to them. We just believe that we did not want to get into a bidding war, and that acquisition for us would have been more accretive from a spectrum point of view. But Starcom's strategy continues to be profitability on the profitable voice segments, continue to drive the data leadership, and continue the cost efficiency and being the best customer-centric company in this country.
All right, I have to throw back to Joburg right now, but in 10 seconds, what should we expect in Q1?
The Q1 results will show you continued growth in the areas where we've done well, continued cost efficiency signals, and to show the market that to compete in this market, you need to be focused on your value for money, quality of your network, and customer service, not just discount for the sake of acquisition.